What's a startup studio? Every time we meet entrepreneurs at conferences, we start by asking them, do you guys know what's a startup studio? And usually they're like, well, it's like an incubator maybe. Okay. And then we ask, what's an incubator? Well, it's a place where you go when you want to launch a startup to get some help or coaching. They just don't know exactly what it is. So startup studios, incubators, accelerators, we investigated and we found out the true reality behind these startup factories. Maybe we should start again. Startup studios, incubators, accelerators. Well, in today's video, we're going to explain you the difference and then explain what's the difference between Make It and these different actors in the startup ecosystem. Okay, so let's start with the incubator. The incubator is usually the first place you get when you want to launch a startup. It's a public institution, so it's basically free. And when you join the incubator, you will get a coach who will help you put some structure in your idea. So he'll provide you with the right tools, give you the first steps to do in order to put some structure and start creating your business. Once you have a better idea of what you want to do, they can provide you with some more specific coaches to help you on a financial plan or for some legal questions, etc. One thing you need to know when you join an incubator is that the coach you will get is a coach. He cannot take decisions for you, or he cannot roll up his sleeves and execute for you. So that's just not allowed for you. So don't expect the coach to be like a member of the team and start giving him things to do, because he won't do it. He will just ask you the right questions, provide you with the right information, but that's basically it. So sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating. Where the incubator reaches its limits, well, it's when you have like an innovative, more risky or tech project. Why? Well, they can give you some very good advice, but once you have all your idea clearly structured, your plans, business plan, business model canvas, whatever, and they are ready, you need to go from this theoretical phase, from everything written on a piece of paper, to a real company, a real business, or at least a first version of the product, and get your first clients. So they can provide you with some tools to do that, but they are not developers or they are not marketeers. They won't do that for you. Last thing you need to know about the incubator is that it's free. It's a public institution, but they won't provide you with funds. So they will help you go from a very early stage idea to a mature idea, but they will not give you money. That's it for the incubator. Now let's move on to the accelerator. Well, the accelerator is the same as an incubator, but it's not meant for early stage startups, so people coming with an idea. But an accelerator is meant for startups who already have some clients and would like to grow, to scale. That's why we call that an accelerator. So when you join an accelerator, well, you also get different coaches who will help you with some big topics like HR, internationalization, etc. Accelerators usually don't give you money, so they are not investors, but at the end of the program, they organize like a demo day where you can pitch your project, pitch the evolution of your project, and they invite investors who sometimes put some money on the table to help you grow your company. Okay, so we have incubators, accelerators, and then we have startup studios. So what's a startup studio? Well, a startup studio is a private company. People working in the startup studio, the employees, they are usually experienced entrepreneurs, and the job of these guys is to create startups. So how does it work? They start with an idea. So they identify a pain or something in your daily life that can be improved, often through technology. They think they have the right idea, the right solution to this pain, and they say, okay, let's try to make a business out of this idea. So they use their experience in startups to test this idea, see if there is a real market need for this idea. And once they have identified, well, a good idea, in order to transform this idea to a real business, they hire someone who will become the CEO of the company. His goal will be to develop this startup as much as he can. So his only focus will be to develop this startup. So this CEO will get equity in the company. Sometimes he will also get a salary. And of course, he will get coaching made by the people working at the startup studio. And then depending on the startup studio, you might have access to some skills like developers, engineers, or designers in order to help him in the first months of the company until he can hire full-time people working in development, engineering, design, whatever. So launching a startup studio is very risky. Why? Well, because you just get paid once the startup is sold, after a couple of months or years, or after the company starts generating good revenue and becomes profitable. It's like betting on the future. And that's why there are so few startup studios. Now, let's have a look at the differences between the startup studios. If we analyze the market, well, we can see that there are like 4 main differences between the different studios. Difference number 1, it's about the idea. So most of the startup studios you will find, well, it's like a closed ecosystem. So the people working there, they get the idea from inside the startup studio, and then they start testing the idea and maybe transforming the idea into a company. They see that there is a market opportunity. And actually at Make It, that was the case. until this year. So we created 5 startups and all the ideas came from inside the startup studio. But now we have decided to change the model because creating everything from scratch, well, it might take some time, you know. So we decided to open the startup studios to external projects, and I will tell you how you can join us at the end of the video. Some studios get the idea not from the inside, but from a corporate, from a big company. So they have a good network of big companies, and you know, by discussing with them, they identify pains and say, you know what, instead of developing this idea inside your big company, it will take time and money. The startup studio will do that for you, and if we see that it works and it's a good solution to your problem, well, we find an arrangement. The second difference between the startup studios is about the niche, the market. You have some startup studios dedicated or specialized in one particular niche. So if we take the example of eFounders, which is a pretty famous startup studio, while they focus on creating SaaS, softwares as a service, and they are especially made to improve productivity at work. At Make It, we don't really focus on a niche, but we try to find technical solutions to everyday problems. Third difference between the different studios, it's about the methods, the methodology. So how the startup studio will test an idea, put it on the market, and then help the company grow. So on the one hand, you have the type of studios who are maybe smaller, so the central team of the studio is smaller, and they just take care of generating the idea, testing the idea, and then they hire someone who will become the CEO of the company. People working at the studio, they will just provide some coaching, the right tools, and be there as a support to help the CEO develop its own company inside the studio. So these type of studios usually have a network of freelancers who will help the company for some tasks. And then you have the second types of studios who have what we call a machine. At Make It, we have a machine, and this machine is made of about 30 people working there full time. So we have software engineers, hardware engineers, designers, developers, marketeers, growth hackers, and experienced entrepreneurs working here at Make It. And what these people do, well, they work on a daily basis with the startup, so they really roll up their sleeves, work with the startup until the startup can afford or need to have someone working full-time there for that particular skills. The last difference between the studios is the way they finance their activities. Most of the startup studios, they are created by experienced entrepreneurs, and these guys can raise big amounts of money so that the startup studio can burn some cash and then expect to be profitable after a couple of months of years. Here at Make It, we had a different strategy. We are what we call a bootstrapped startup studio. During the first year of the studio, while part of the team was working on the startups we created, and then the other part of the team was generating money by selling our skills as a service to other companies, startups, corporates, etc. Now, a question that we get asked quite often, and especially from the Belgian and French audience we have, what's the difference between Make It and the family? The way I see the family, it's more like an accelerator. They don't focus on early stage startups. So if you want to join the family, you need to have a proven traction, clients, an MVP or something, or at least prove that you can do something. So the family will provide you with a good network, some good tools. They will be there to answer your questions. And if you're facing some problems, well, they will give you some good advice. So the family has a plan to take 5% equity in a lot of startups, so high volumes, while having a low implication in the different startups. Here at Make It, we have a completely different approach. We don't plan to have high volume of startups, but we also don't plan to just give some coaching or advice or network. The team here at Make It, the Make It employees, they are completely implicated in the different startups we have. So we work on a daily basis with them, we roll up our sleeves with them, we develop for them, we design for them, we launch marketing campaigns, we do sales for them. So we are really part of the team of the startup until the startup can completely become autonomous, independent, raise enough money or have enough revenue to hire a full-time dedicated team. So we have a big team working for the different startups full-time, but we just share the resources amongst a low volume of startups. At the family, they have a big volumes of startups and they are less involved in different projects. As far as I know, that's the main difference between the family and Make It. Okay, so I told you that we are now opening the studio to external projects, external ideas. I won't go into details in this video about how it works, equity, blah, 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 blah. But in a nutshell, you have 2 ways of collaborating with us and using the machine. Option number 1, you just want to use the machine to help you test, develop or grow your company, but you don't really want to join the studio or give equity. That's pretty easy. You just get in touch with us and we will see how we can collaborate and provide you some services. Option number 2, you would like to join the studio and you want us to invest in your company. Well, that's possible. And there are 2 possibilities. Possibility number 1, I don't know if we say that, possibility number 1, but I will say it anyway. So number 1, you already have like a proven traction. So you know that there are customers, you can prove it, you have some nice KPIs to show. Well, in this case, we can invest in your company with money and or skills against equity. If you don't have a proven traction or real KPIs for your project, you can still apply. Why? Because every month we select a couple of projects that we would like to test into more details. And if this happens for your project, we divide the risk. So in other words, we divide the bill in two between Make It and you. And then we try to get good KPIs, validate that there is a real market opportunity for a project. And at this stage, we take no equity. So the project belongs to you, 100% to you, but we just get a priority if there is a next round of investment. Okay, so that's it for today. We saw the difference between a startup studio, an accelerator, and an incubator. So now that we know each other a little bit better, in the next video, we will start rolling up our sleeve. Oh, it's already done. Starting from the next video, we will dive into real content, pure content, tools, hacks, techniques to help you go from an idea to a growing company better and faster. Last but not least, if you have a nice startup project, you found like a real pain and you think that you have the right solution to this pain and maybe you already have developed something or the first customers or whatever, just get in touch with us. As I told you, we invest in companies, so just drop us an email, comment, send us a pitch deck, PowerPoint, Keynote, PDF, what you want. We will read it really carefully. And if we see that we can help you or that we have the right skills for your project, we won't hesitate to get back in touch with you, invite you here at Make It, and discuss about the project. See you in the next video.